Quite a few fan bases out there already know not to get their hopes up because, well, there's just no way.
Brady, where are you at on the Texans, what they've done, and where they're headed here for 2022?
Yeah, I mean, look, they've done some good things. It's just not going to be good enough.
While we can't always predict who will win the Super Bowl heading into the season, we can usually identify a few teams that have no chance at even qualifying for the postseason, let alone actually winning the Lombardi Trophy. And the 2022 NFL season is no different. In fact, there are even a few teams that made the playoffs last year who will almost definitely be on the outside looking in this time around, like the Las Vegas Raiders and Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting with the silver and black, 10-7 just might have been overperforming last year. And now that Russell Wilson is a Denver Bronco, the road to the postseason will only be more challenging. I mean, think about it. The AFC West is loaded. The Raiders will have 2 games against Pat Mahomes, 2 games against Justin Herbert, and now 2 games against Russell Wilson. To come out of divisional play at 3-3 would be a huge win. Derek Carr has proven to be a good NFL quarterback at this point. We have to give that to him. But I don't think anyone in their right mind is taking him over a single other AFC West QB. Las Vegas also has tough games against San Fran, New England, the LA Rams, Arizona Cardinals, and the Indianapolis Colts, making a playoff run very much an uphill battle. The Steelers, on the other hand, well, last year, they might have been one of the worst playoff teams that we have ever seen. They got demolished in the wildcard round by the Chiefs 42-21. And it was actually more of a blowout than that already wide margin suggests. Truthfully, there may be some addition by subtraction with the retirement of Ben Roethlisberger, who clearly appeared to be on his last legs. But it's not like Pittsburgh has a surefire stud to fill in under center and round out an otherwise talented team. In addition to Mason Rudolph, which is a pretty rough place to start, they drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round. But his prospects as a pro are undeniably murky, and their only other real option is Mitch Trubisky. Now, I would love to give Mitch the benefit of the doubt since it did seem like he got kind of a raw deal in Chicago. But I hardly have enough confidence that he'll win the starting job, let alone take the Steelers back to the playoffs, residing in a division with the Baltimore Ravens. Oh, and the defending AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Pittsburgh is also going to have to deal with the departure of Juju Smith-Schuster. Now, I know Steelers fans loved to trash the young star for his affinity for TikTok and the occasional dud performances, but the smart money says that Steel Town will be sorely missing him now that he has set sail for Kansas City. Hopefully, the Steelers and Raiders players have some friends on the Atlanta Falcons and Seattle Seahawks, because then they can all link up for a nice golf trip or something once January rolls around. You know, with both of the aforementioned teams having lost their franchise quarterback this offseason after already disappointing 2021 campaigns, well, I don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that neither has a snowball's chance in hell of making the playoffs. Seattle has the misfortune of playing in the NFC West, meaning they'll have to match up with the Cardinals, 49ers, and reigning Super Bowl champion Rams twice each. They also play the AFC West this year, meaning games against the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, and Russell Wilson's new team, the Denver Broncos. Just looking at those matchups from a quarterbacking perspective, well, it's nearly impossible to see Seattle winning any of them. Right now, it looks like it'll either be Drew Lock or Geno Smith as QB1 when the season rolls around, which, to me, well, does not instill much confidence, especially against some of those NFC West defenses. And not that I need to remind the good people who make up the 12th man, but, well, they are coming off a 4th place finish with Russell Wilson. That defense is a shell of what it once was when the Legion of Boom reigned supreme. And while DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are strong wide receivers, they are now really the entirety of the Seahawks offense. Moving down south and all the way east to the Falcons, who are moving on from Matt Ryan, they're now heading into the 2022 season with a blind hope that either Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder is the answer, or that they are so bad that they can fully enter enter tank mode. And to make matters worse for Atlanta, they also head into 2022 without Calvin Ridley, who got tagged with an indefinite suspension for betting on games during the 2021 season. Down your best receiver is not exactly where you want to be in your first season without your former league MVP quarterback, who took damn near every snap for you since you took him 3rd overall nearly 15 years ago. At least they might be able to get a win in Week 3 when they play Seattle in an early season toilet bowl. Just ask the Detroit Lions or the Houston Texans what it's like to move on from their franchise quarterback, albeit for widely different reasons. And both organizations are still reeling to the extent that I would be shocked if either of them sniffed the playoffs in 2022. Detroit showed a lot of heart last season under Dan Campbell's leadership, but heart will only get you so far in the NFL, as evidenced by their 3-13-1 record in 2021. An impressively bad mark considering they played in a division in which only one team, the Green Bay Packers, had a winning record. I mean, Detroit couldn't even win a single road game. If it provides any solace to the Lions faithful out there, at least your team seems pretty confident in its outlook for this season. Preseason confidence doesn't do much in the way of guaranteeing success, but at least it's something. Just getting the players to sip the Kool-Aid is half the battle after all. Because I doubt there's even a fraction of that confidence in the Houston locker room. The Texans are an organization in utter disarray. They went from finally having an answer at quarterback in Deshaun Watson to now having to choose between Davis Mills and Kyle Allen. Houston is also trotting out a head coach who is the retread of all retreads in Lovie Smith after turning down Brian Flores after the news of his lawsuit broke out. Lovie had a nice run with the Bears in the mid-2000s, but in the time since, well, his output has been pretty bleak. He posted an 8-24 record during 2 years in Tampa Bay, then dropped down to the college ranks where he helped the University of Illinois win 17 of 56 games. So please, tell me why the Texans think that Lovie is the guy to help get the train back on the tracks in Houston. Why? And speaking of Lovie, his former team, the Chicago Bears, are another team with no chance of making it to the postseason competition. Every year, it feels like the same thing with Chicago. It's diehard fans get their hopes up for some new quarterback, and then once the season rolls around, disaster strikes, almost without fail. And to me, it seems like that is what's about to happen this upcoming season, which will be Justin Fields' first as the full-time starter heading into the season. He showed some flashes during 2021, but let's call a spade a spade. The Bears were 2-8 in his 10 starts. He threw 10 interceptions compared to just 7 touchdowns. And he repeatedly put his body into harm's way, ultimately leading to the shortening of his season when he cracked his ribs against the Baltimore Ravens. I suppose there is an absolute best-case scenario in which Fields builds on his rookie year, cuts back on the turnovers, of which there were many, and the Bears actually compete in the NFC North. But the far more likely outcome is that Fields frustrates fans with his inconsistencies, the organizational chaos that Chicago has all but trademarked in recent years continues to swirl, and they muck it up towards the bottom of the standings, while the rival Green Bay Packers cruise to another division title with Aaron Rodgers back at the helm. I know it may hurt Chicago fans to hear this, but I think in their quiet moments, they know it's true. Because that is what happens to organizations like the Chicago Bears that seem to lack any true structure, process, or real long-term plan. They continue to look for get-rich-quick type solutions instead of committing to building a sustainable, successful organization from the C-suite down to the playing field. It's the same deal down in Jacksonville. Maybe they will improve on an abysmal 3-14 record from 2021, but I doubt that we'll see the Jaguars even come close to sniffing the postseason this year. Even with the human cancer that is Urban Meyer now out of town. I'll give the Jacksonville front office some credit for trying to spark some change this offseason. They hired a former Super Bowl winning coach in Doug Peterson to try and change the culture, hopefully in a more positive way than Meyer did. And they put the second largest available cap space to use, adding Brandon Scherf to help protect the franchise's most valuable asset, Trevor Lawrence, as well as a few new weapons like wide receivers Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, and tight end Evan Ingram for Lawrence to throw to. But the reality is that until Jacksonville proves it on the field and actually starts winning some games, the smart money will always be against the Jags making the postseason. And while we're talking about franchises in flux that really have no chance of making the playoffs this year, how about the two non-New York franchises, the Giants and Jets? Somewhat shockingly, the Jets might actually find themselves in a better position than the Giants heading into this season from a football perspective. Robert Saleh appears to be building a culture throughout the organization. And even better, Zach Wilson showed some signs last year. And they have a couple of young playmakers that seem to be blossoming before our very eyes with the likes of Braxton Berrios and Elijah Moore. Not to mention that Corey Davis should be fully healthy and back in action, providing a physical security blanket type of receiver for the young quarterback. But that being said, it will still be an uphill battle for the Jets to make any noise come playoff time, because they are playing in an extremely competitive AFC East. The division looks like Buffalo's to lose, and it's still home to a Bill Belichick-coached Patriots team and a young talented Dolphins squad, which, if able to block out the noise from the Brian Flores controversy, may be able to build on a 9-8 season that saw them narrowly miss out on qualifying for the playoffs. So, as the only AFC East team that finished under 500 last year with 4 wins, the Jets will need to make a big leap in 2022. And if I'm being honest, I don't think they're quite ready for it. The once proud Giants, on the other hand, well, they've been in a seemingly never-ending tailspin since the end of the Eli Manning era. And they have done very little to give any indication that that will change anytime soon. They too finished 4-13 last year, playing in a much less competitive division. And now that they have another new head coach in Brian Daboll, starting quarterback Daniel Jones has officially reached lame duck status, which should only add to the chaos. On the bright side, the Giants did have a nice showing on draft day, snagging 2 high-profile prospects in Oregon edge rusher Kayvon Thibodeau and Alabama offensive tackle Evan Neal, selecting them with their 2 top 10 picks. But to me, this is the start of a rebuild. Look for the Giants to essentially tank this year and subsequently miss the playoffs. So that way, Daboll and new general manager Joe Schoen can handpick a new quarterback next season in a much deeper draft class. But which NFL team do you think has no chance of making it to the postseason this year? Is there anyone that we missed? Join us in the comment section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.